It'll be my medicine if I let it. These pieces hidden inside, buried so deep, they're so hard to see.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Love of All podcast. This is your host, Leigh-Anne Lopinto, and we're going to get right into this episode because it was such a deep and profound honor to have my teacher, Shannon Port, join us, and we spoke at length about the relationship between men and women, going super deep on her work, especially around the divine feminine and the true stream, as well as talking about relationships and sexuality. And I'm so excited to get into this. But first, I wanted to share how I connected with the Shannon and how her work has really profoundly influenced me. So in 2022, the beginning of that year, I went through a major initiation, which I've spoken about on other podcasts before, so I won't revisit that here, but that was a very intense year for me. And yet at the same time, there were so many synchronicities that were bringing me towards the right teachers and the exact right people and the exact right articles and videos. And so even now looking back, I know that there was something very, very special going on, and that of course I had to go through that thing for a reason. And it had to do with really facing a little bit of the dark side of love, sex, and relationships. And I had already been teaching about relationships at that point, but I had not gone to the depths of this one thing. I came across Shannon's work that year by doing research on the solar feminine. And if you don't know what the solar feminine is, we are going to get deep into that. Shannon shares what that is. And I just have to tell you that it's definitely like a soul level connection that I have with Shannon and her work. I found her YouTube channel, started to watch a few videos, and immediately knew that she was speaking my language. And I was really kind of blown away, honestly, by the things that she was speaking about. And it's hard to even put it into words, but when you know someone is your teacher, you just know. And so shortly after that, I enrolled in one of her higher level programs. It's a mentorship that was really intense and profound, and I'm so happy I did. And that was called Light Body Woman. And then fast forward to the end of last year, I did another one of her programs called The Descent of Inanna. And now, as of 2025, the beginning of this year, I enrolled in her year-long Divine Feminine Wisdom School, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Every single thing that Shannon puts her touches on is profound and deep. And I have studied and worked with so many people over the past 14 years for my own healing. And they were all really good teachers at the exact right time. However, Shannon is just, she's in a league of her own, is what I'll say. And, you know, everybody who listens to this can decide for themselves if Shannon is a teacher for you. But it was an immediate knowing for me. And so we're going to get right into this episode without further ado, but I do want to read her bio from her website and give her more of a formal introduction. Shannon has such an incredible 30 years and even more than that, honestly, of wisdom, because this started to come in for her as a child. And so I will just read her bio formally now. Shannon Port has been teaching and sharing with the world a profound body of feminine archetypal wisdom for the past 2 decades through the divine feminine wisdom teachings in Light Body Yoga and Light Body Woman. Art of the Feminine is a cosmic feminine stream received by a true female initiate who has been working in the frequency of the goddess since birth. Shannon has lived these mysteries and has traveled the deep feminine path of goddess initiation, working closely with the divine feminine spiritual hierarchies to restore and regenerate the inner mysteries of divine love on earth. Through her heart and her word, she shares this transmission as her soul's mission. The work here has been lived, tasted, and fully integrated and digested. It is beyond sacred and holds the divine feminine impulse for the coming age of Venus and the goddess epoch. I just want to pause for a moment before we get in and just tell you that Shannon is the real deal. In this day and age of social media and a lot of people just kind of using a lot of flowery language and things that they're putting out there that maybe they've just heard elsewhere, etc., you can tell when you listen to Shannon, hopefully, that it's a very different embodied wisdom. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. She is the only teacher of the divine feminine that I trust and that I work with. And I'm really excited to share this with you. So please reach out to Shannon or myself with any comments or questions. We would love to hear. All of her links are in the show notes. And let's get into it. Welcome, Shannon. I am so grateful to have you on. I'm so thankful that you said yes. And I know that we have a lot that we want to speak about today. But before we dive in, I just wanted to give you a moment to just introduce yourself. I know a lot of my audience knows you because I share about you. However, I wanted to give you a chance just to introduce yourself and your work to anyone listening who might not know you.
Oh, Leigh-Anne, first of all, it is absolutely divine to be here with you today. And on the 30th, by the way, which is a really profound day and profound number that is connected to the goddess. And I can't even tell you what an honor and privilege it is to be here with you on your platform. I just want to start by saying that when you first showed up in my life, going back a few years, when I had the honor of meeting you, I was absolutely so grateful for the energy that you carry, the integrity you carry, and the archetypes that you carry for this work. It is absolutely profound when someone comes along and you recognize them as being in this nucleus of this work and carrying these codes, but with such a spiritual maturity and a willingness to really step back and really, really seek the truth, which is how I feel about you. Meaning, I know that is your number one. Even like when you came into my school and you said, I just want the truth. I want to know the wisdom and that it's everything, and your willingness to be human and yet also know that it's a big responsibility. So it's absolutely amazing to be here. I thank you. And as you know, I haven't been on a lot of podcasts. There's very few people I've been able to work with up until now, just because of the purity of this stream and the high frequency of this stream, that I had to really, really just hold it and let it get really strong before I could interact. And so I'm beyond excited to be here. I didn't know that you would be having me introduce myself. For some reason, I thought you said you had prepared to. So let me just take a moment and see where I will start. Okay. Currently, the most recent thing is that I'm doing the Holy Womanhood podcast, which is a podcast focused on the high revelations of the feminine mysteries, or the Venusian mysteries. We started with the Art of the Feminine podcast back in 2012. It was on iTunes, and it was one of the first, it was really in the first wave of podcasts, and it was very unique and very different in that we were bringing in the esoteric information as it was specifically related to love relationships and healing the dragon current, or the sexual current in the world. And it really, really brought in a depth of understanding of the profundity of the vehicle of the woman and her consciousness and her heart, and the true meaning of these alchemical containers that we create when we come together with another soul through love. And then not only through just emotional love and romantic love and deep spiritual love, but when we combine that with physical love, where it's connected to the actual merging of the body, which is the sexual current, something profound happens. And this has never fully been realized and honored in the spiritual lineages on our planet. Even There's been different iterations of Tantra and understanding, but the final piece, which is what this work is about, is understanding the power that is held in a woman's heart when she loves, and how that power not only births every single man on this planet, it becomes the fountain of sustenance for the man when he enters into a relationship with woman. And so it obviously, you can say these things have been pointed out and spoken of, but we would not be sitting here if Eve had risen from her crucifixion. We wouldn't be here. The work on our planet right now to heal the fallen Mars energy and the fallen masculine is regeneration through the woman. Now, here, I know I just went way off. That's what this work is about. I'm supposed to be talking about my work here. Sorry. So when I started to go public with this work on a major platform, I had been teaching privately for many years at that point. Since the late 90s and early 2000s, it really peaked. That's when I founded something called Light Body Yoga in 2003. Light Body Yoga is the practical wisdom platform, or the esoteric platform. That was the first thing to come in with the fertility, where it was a stream of Eve's holy tree of life. So before I even had Goddess Kabbalah and Divine Feminine Kabbalah built out, the practical spiritual work, the rituals, and the energetic guidance to prepare the vessel was brought in through Light Body Yoga. So I was trained first. I taught yoga in New York City for many, many years on a really high level, and never felt completely, even though these traditions of yoga, it's ancient and rich and holds everything. And yet something inside me kept being, no, you have to break out. And at that time, there were no other kinds of yoga besides like Ashtanga and Jivamukti and Hatha. There were the main yogas. It wasn't like now in our modern day that everyone makes up everything. But at that time, to come out and say, I'm teaching light body yoga and be embraced at some of the big platforms, the major studios and platforms in the city, like the very highest, was such a big deal that I said, no, I founded this yoga and it's my own spiritual platform based on the Eastern teachings and the tantric teachings and the yoga teachings, all that stream, but there's something else coming. And so I was embraced, which I was very grateful for, but that was the beginning. And then it led to, I started teaching this esoteric feminine yoga, which has to do with the body of light through the mysteries. And it's very connected to what's called the Western mysteries, or the Western esoteric system, which is built on a Kabbalistic platform. Kabbalah is a cosmic stream. It's been embraced by almost every tradition on the planet. Sometimes you see it associated with some religions more than others, but it's shown up in every corner of the planet, including ancient Egypt. And it rolls out of Atlantis and the cosmic. So it's the stream of the codes of the universe and of creation. That's what Kabbalah is. And so I had formal training in these platforms for years, and I just took it on myself to study. So this began to lead into the mysteries in fertility, which I was trained to. And I don't mean to go on, but I will round this out now. Basically, the reason this was the feminine is because my work also in the 90s, I started to receive teachings on fertility, had no idea why, what they were for. I wasn't even thinking about having a child. But that my last name started with the prefix egg, EGG, and I was called Egg my whole life. And my work ended up becoming about the ovum and the female DNA and the female genetics for fertility, and the magic and mystery of what woman brings to conception. Then it started to go into the heart. It all started to piece together. So I went through I started doing fertility rituals just spontaneously, had no training in any New Age stuff. I was raised traditionally religious and then broke into the Western mysteries, but the fertility came through. So the fertility combined with the light body yoga, I conceived my son on the platform of the fertility rites of the highest level of Goddess Kabbalah. He was literally conceived this way. And I was guided step by step through it without understanding where it was all leading. And so the rituals of fertility for the future are hugely held in this stream. That's why we say the Venusian mysteries. It's the resurrection of understanding. And so, as you will know, because of your work, this connects to the sexual current, it connects to love relationships, and it connects to the conception of a child, whether you have one or not. You cannot have, in the real way, a child enter this world without there being love, without there being the union, the sexual force. That is the platform of the highest spiritual work in this era. The age of Aquarius, the what we call here the goddess epoch, or the age of Venus. It could be also the age of the Holy Spirit, but it's not just male, masculine spirituality of just meditating, which I've studied all the Vedanta teachings very deeply. I studied Advaita, so alongside with the feminine mysteries, I had programming lifetime after lifetime to keep going back to the male lineages, which I have no problem over at all whatsoever, because I am connected to them. I've been in them. And so I had the Advaita Vedanta books on my nightstand my whole life, read them every night. The teachings of I am and the self are very, very potent, but they haven't fully been merged with the understanding of love and love relationships. Most often, the master does not have a partner. Or, when you look at the church, it's been separated. Adam and Eve were separated. It makes no sense. We fell through this current, and at the same time, we will rise through this current. And it's not by cutting off the lower chakras. It's not by having them go dormant. It's not by running away from lust and only being pure. But this work is about, sorry, because I'll take you back to then where it went from there, because this foundation is how we got here. It's about healing sexuality, and love cannot heal until on the global level, we know what that means. There are things happening, I know, in like the whole podcast world and all this thing right now. I don't follow that world, but I know. And we called this a long time ago, that sort of like rock star podcaster guy thing, way, way, way misled, all the wrong paths. There's a certain spirituality in it, and it is needed, and it can guide a lot of people, but it does not hold the feminine mysteries. It doesn't hold initiated voices that really have sacrificed to go through this. So this work, then we moved into light body tantra. After light body tantra yoga came light body tantra, purely about this work. And so my background was that I had to go through a certain level of dark archetype journey in order to experience it in this lifetime, the breaking of the heart. And I know you have a similar path, the understanding what it is to hold the true heart of Venus, and to take the hit of having the most holy and sacred vehicle in the universe that was created is the heart. And woman carries not just the regular heart, the woman carries the heart that links to God all the way. We are born through the heart of the feminine, but we haven't yet attached that. That's what this work has been. I got to live it, and I also got to suffer through it repeatedly. And with each time that I died and had to be reborn, it was at the same time of carrying this work, I got to fully integrate that the sins of the world, meaning, it's like Christ dying to what do they say in religion? I'm raised religious, to save the world, to be the redeemer of the sins of the world. That's what this work is. When you carry it and you hold the frequency of it, and then you rise back up, like the Phoenix rising, like we did in in Holy Descent, which is a profound platform. So then, okay, you are bringing it in, not here, but in your body. You have to move through it. This is not an era of male spirituality, and just especially many of the men, I'm just going to say this, I know them karmically and on a soul level, did not respect these mysteries in their own life. Many of them, I'm not talking now, I'm talking along the way. Some of the ones that received great fame and great status as great teachers are great teachers, but did not carry this work. They just simply didn't carry it, meaning they hadn't gone through the process. And you can't deliver it and even fully spiritually comprehend it until you know it. And that's why in this era, this is the era of woman speaking truth. So then it came Light Body Tantra. I started teaching the sexual work, then came the podcast. Some of this is just answering questions we'll talk about, but then came the deep, deep, deep. I teach, as you know, I teach the tarot and I teach the tree of life and I teach all the Kabbalistic work. That started to come through initiation around 2008, 2009, that it was being delivered in a totally new format. Not a new format, true to the template of the original, because I know that inside and out very well, but with the added architecture and infrastructure to do the work of Eve and the woman. And the work of Eve is the work of Adam. I'm not speaking exclusively to, and we'll get to that. I saw the question. But this work, then I presented it in a course called Holy Descent of the Goddess, which is the first that which you've taken part in. It's in the archetype of Inanna, but it carries this whole system, and it's about the feminine crucifixion and resurrection. And then, so now I have this school called the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, and it's a real school that has been brought in piece by piece, layer by layer. And I run the school. I'm the spiritual head of this school to heal this planet right now and to bring in the feminine mystery, the real feminine mysteries, the real ones, because we carry them and we know them intimately. Okay, so that's it.
Oh my gosh, Shannon, take up all of the time and space that you need because this podcast is all about you. And so I'm just so grateful to have you on. And I'm also a member of the school as well. And Shannon will share more at the end about all of that. But oh my gosh, I mean, your work spans really, like I know that you've shared even as a child that you are connected to this. I don't know if you want to add anything about that or
Sure. Sure. I will add that because I think it's important because people do have these experiences. And so just one moment, I'll have a I was connected. I knew about this work as a child. I remember being in a stroller and looking at the grass and just looking my connection. I'm born Venus ruled, and so I have a lot of Venus and we have some similarities too. And I was my interfacing with nature was extremely heightened. And so when I get in, I have it to this day. I work in nature every day, all the time. When I'm in the grass and I see the color and the sunlight and all the seasons really, but as a baby, I was already the grass was overwhelming me, and the light in nature, which is the solar feminine we'll talk about. I was already deeply communicating with the hierarchies and the angelics. And even in my play as a child, it was about all of this. So that was there. And then when I went to be formally educated in some of the standing traditions on the planet, I was born Catholic. I entered Catholic school very young, and I had a very religious grandmother. We got on our, not religious, she was connected. She wasn't like religious in her mind. She was the real deal. And she had 13 children, lived on a farm. We were on our knees praying the rosary to the mother, to Hail Mary, to all. It was always even though I was Catholic, it was always about the feminine. I had Magdalene and Mary on my nightstand with all my little trinkets my whole life, and was just in communication with them. Let me see if there's specifically, it was the awe and wonder of the body, of nature. And then in my generation, we watched things like Isis and Wonder Woman and those early, there was even the Bionic Woman. These are early, like 70s, 80s. And when I watched it, I knew that that's what I was here for. So then I had the experiences like the receiving from the inner plane and the deep, deep, deep dreams. But I also, which this is important to add, had to carry the dark stream. The Magdalene stream comes in. The women who carry it have a contract where they're going to have to face the dark in their lifetime. It's not a lifetime of just straight purity and privilege where you get to study and be holy. You have to interface with the world, with the masculine, with the dragon current, the sexual force, in order to claim the codes. It's by having your heart combined with the experiences that are not in alignment, and then receiving the hit, calibrating and recalibrating the system, you're doing that work for the planet. And that's the Magdalene path of the prostitute, which is a deep, deep archetype. There's a lot of truth to the to her archetype as a prostitute, even though the church didn't had no clue what they were talking about and did try to defame that archetype of the feminine that carries this wisdom. So there was that, and then I entered into the performing arts. And so when I would dance, something would come into me. And my whole life when I was performing and in acting school and in New York, directors always told me, they would be like, even when I was in the underworld side of things, I could be in the darkest underbelly. I lived in LA for 6 years. I've shared this with you. In the darkest places, people at high levels would be like, you don't belong here. There is something in you. And they're like, it's freaking us out. Like, you carry something that is so like otherworldly. And this is not like if I was in more of the underbelly and the party scene and the nightclub, all of that, which I was, and more, people would call me out. Like sometimes someone with a lot of dark energy would be the, nuh-uh, you're not, there's something going on in you. Even though and they were drawn to me because they were drawn to the light. Like the dark will be drawn to the light and want to latch on to it because the dark is in pain and sorrow. So even though it's working its thing, it likes to have a little light around it, a little light to be like subconsciously, I've brought the light with me. It's like a trophy. Like when the dark gets a trophy, if it's got someone that's carrying light alongside it, partaking in any of their activities, it's like a trophy. It's like, look what I got. This is my kill. But they also deep down crave the light and are conflicted. And a person like a woman in that situation doesn't win at all, ever. I'm not trying to glorify this at all, but it was my contract. And so I had the performing arts, and then I had the performing. So I meant to say that people recognized that there was something running through me always, even in the dark. I had a practice and a prayer every day because I had been raised that way, and I always prayed. I always was divinely connected. I prayed for everyone around me constantly. And that's really the only reason I made it out of the dark alive out of those years, because they were at the very height of darkness on this planet. I saw everything, everything at the international global level, the highest. And it was only because the thing inside me and the little protection I had, which was not much, because they later told me you had to come in unprotected and just be thrown to the wolves. But there was still that spark of light that just kept me knowing my true path. And so the combining of the performing arts and receiving, whenever I dance or did anything, it can, and when I started acting in acting school in New York, I went to professional acting school. When I'd go on stage and act, that energy would come through, the light energy would come through, and people would say, what's in you? Because so acting was a vehicle to train it, to ground it, to work with the earth energies and the higher energies. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was really training me to be not even a mystic or an occultist, but a divine feminine initiate at the highest degree, meaning you have to know how to run those currents of everything. You don't push anything away. You have to know how to take the dark and make it obey you, meaning like you have not obey you, but to transmute it, to be like, okay, you're coming at me. And now I slowly, slowly, slowly get the power. And so all of this came through the training of the performing arts, going in the underworld, and even traditional spiritual. I went to Catholic school straight through and learned the real archetypes of the scriptures at a really high level, all of this combined. And then when I was in New York, that led to the fertility work. People just started randomly asking me, can you help me do fertility? I need to get pregnant. This was late 90s, early 2000s. I'm like, what? And I would get it off. People would come up to me. And like, when I was teaching yoga or doing anything, and finally I was like, I think I'm meant to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's how it started. So yes, it started as a child. And so, I gave birth to a child who has that. And people all over the planet have, some may hear this and be like, yeah, that was me too. So I wanted to share that with you. Yes.
I
The
love
connection was there.
Oh, I love that you share that, Shannon, because now that I'm thinking about it, when I first connected to your work, it was just because I searched for solar feminine. That's when I was deep diving into it in 2022. However, I didn't realize that you and I have much in common, even though, of course, we're unique women. But I had to go through so much darkness, starting from a young child, in regards to sexuality, just the initiations and all of that. Lots of darkness, especially even teenage years, early 20s. And so when I learned that about you later, yeah, I always feel such a connection to you, you know?
And that you're in LA. Can I say a couple
Yeah,
things?
yeah.
You're in LA. That's where my dark initiations took place. And for a while, people were coming to me from that world. This is how it happens. People that were in that world that I was in were just finding me. In my early years of mentoring and teaching, I'd be like, "How did you find me?" They were still in the underworld, but they recognized something in me. And I never told them that I had been there, done that, do nothing. But they were seeking healing. And now it's to the point where the light is coming in, meaning like you're in LA in the light. I had to go through that process to mirror with it and to really do the work that needs to be done on the planet to help people move beyond this cultural thing that has overtaken the globe right now. It's basically everywhere. It's the whole globe is in that frequency along with the spiritual awakening. But also, yeah, I remember when you and I discovered that we had the similar background. And also when you told me that you simply Googled solar feminine and found me because the greatest students and co-creators and people that I have worked with have found me that way. Meaning there it was just a simple like honing that called you that just said you Googled that and you found me and you came and did a 3-month mentorship immediately.
Immediately.
Immediate. In fact, you were in the year where you got double mentorships because I was offering like you got remember you
Oh,
came
yeah.
in at the one where you got to partake immediately of I was doing two for the price of one, which was huge. I've never done that
Yeah.
since. So you got like 6 months of material. I was like, this woman's here for a reason. And then because there's a couple other people that found me just like that, meaning it just came. Like you were guided to do something and next thing you know you were in it. So that's
Oh, it's
meaning
so, thank you for sharing that. 2022 is so like that. And I honestly, I'm so grateful to have found you and trusted my intuition too. I had studied with lots of different teachers before, even in divine feminine ways, and they were all perfect for the times that I did. But your work is just such a profound level and continues to be for me. I just feel like, even though I've been studying for a few years now with you, I'm just feel like I'm still just scratching the surface just because your work is so vast and profound. So thank
you
you for
have no idea, and I see it in your aura. You have no idea. But yeah, just the fact that you came in and trusted, you didn't even know, like you just came into a major program. And I knew it. I was like, oh, she's in. She's in. I know what's coming for her. So
I
yeah,
love it.
oh,
Yeah.
an honor to be here. Okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, I mean, I think there's so many different directions we could go, but do you want to just share for people who don't know what the solar feminine is? What does that mean?
Yes. Yes. So I jotted down a couple things, but I will start just by speaking um through the stream. The work here is based on the solar feminine. And we sometimes call the solar feminine the Christ Sophia or the regenerated power of Venus. So I'll start by saying that the solar feminine is the activation of matter with the energies that we are talking about now. The knowledge isn't book knowledge, it's a living frequency. We call it the divine feminine frequency in the work we do because it's the frequency that vibrates at the heart that has been healed, that has gone through these initiations, the initiations we did in the descent of Inanna and the 13 spheres and all of the reclaiming. That's a blueprint for that. That it's not it's not words, it's the actual holding of it. Then you become the solar feminine because the Christ force or the logos is now alive within you. The Christ represents the sun, and the Sophia is also the sun, but we'll say the lower version of Sophia, Sophia Achamoth, and some of the Kabbalistic or Gnostic teachings, is matter in the underworld, or it's the human vessel in the underworld that has not yet been fully baptized in the high knowledge. In this work, we call the solar feminine the eighth house mysteries, because it is through the eighth house, through the regeneration of the sexual current, the regeneration of love, the understanding of shared resources, of what happens when you merge into another human being and become one, not just physically, emotionally, but spiritually at a high level, and you lose yourself and you go through a process of having to understand what is love. That creates, in astrology, the phoenix rising, which is the solar feminine or the Holy Spirit or the Ruach Elohim. So this is work that doesn't happen just through meditation. It's the solar feminine is hands-on in the field, working, doing the real work. So I will put this out there for some of the ideas around sexuality that have been really, really dropped in sort of the podcast world and all of this. And also, spirituality anyway requires great discernment, because a lot of people, we all channel, we all receive a stream and channel and messages from God, and everyone is valid to say, look, I received this message inside, or this being came to me. Everyone can say that. But when you begin to come into this work, the solar feminine, it is a profound presence that knows what we call the laws of nature. And that means the laws of the divine feminine. We may call it Sophionic law or cosmic Sophionic law. That's what Goddess Kabbalah is. So the work of meditation and fasting and all of that is fine, and medicine journeys and all these things people are doing. But the payoff doesn't come until that work has landed, until we've gone through the real life experiences, until we have had to suffer for our mistakes. And by that, I mean to taste the cup of going in the wrong direction so that we can realign and recalibrate. That's what we call alchemy, and that's a real process. And it's the process of the mother and the feminine. So we can't, okay, we must not enter love to move beyond lust or to avoid it. And some of the male lineages went the wrong way with this. That does not mean that that everyone needs a physical love relationship. If you're having a lifetime where this is not your path, claim it. And when you enter into a relationship, it doesn't mean that everyone's relationship is based on tantra and all this like crazy spiritual sexuality. Not at all. But it means that you are working towards the process of understanding what this vessel of the heart, the solar feminine, is when it's combined with that current of desire. And so we could say lust, but we call it the body of desire, which is Lilith and Magdalene. So I'll look really quick to see what else I have. So many of the male spiritual teachers that are huge and that are really popular right now in the podcast worlds, they just didn't simply hold it. I recognize that immediately, just to tell you a little bit of history when I came into all the spiritual work, because I come from these backgrounds and I now know exactly where my soul has come from, meaning who I worked with along the way. But I would get like, not a trigger, but like a block, because I've read everything. I read all the esoteric work, all the mysteries, all of the mystery schools, everything in the Western tradition. I've read well over 1,000, maybe 2,000 books. So I've come in contact with, and before I even understood what was happening, I was receiving what the frequency of it was. And there's a couple male teachers that I'd go near it and it was like, whoa, that's a no. Meaning like, and I want to be really, really clear. This is not with judgment, because everyone that serves the hierarchies and the great work is contributing. But as a woman who's carrying the huge stream and cosmic current of the feminine mysteries, the regeneration of these mysteries in the current that is meant for this time, I was coded to know that, but I still had to struggle with it. Meaning there was a couple teachers I got hit where I was like, why? It was like it was forbidden and I wanted to look, but I knew I couldn't. It took me going through the actual work and getting more mature spiritually and having to it was a hard thing. As you know, I've worked in the Akashic Record for a long time. The masters in the Akashic Record told me that what I was carrying was such a a high value target for the dark forces, meaning because it was going to launch the stream. And I shared in the last video I did that I went to one astrologer in my lifetime. He was like, "Oh," he's like, "You lost your life many times for this. It was Pluto just He said you have brutally stood up and been taken down for daring to carry this because it is all the forces that keep us locked down here don't want the real stream. There's a lot of divine feminine. It's all beautiful. But so what they told me was that I was programmed deep, punished so much. It's like beginning to love your captor when you start to see your captor as your friend instead of seeing what has really happened. So because of when you face a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and betrayal for carrying the feminine, you start to get a little bit distorted version and think, oh, maybe it was the men that carried this. Maybe they did have the stream. Maybe it was okay. And then you start to slowly let that voice that you're carrying, you know, take a back seat. And so that's why I had to go through the Catholic Church and be raised in the church. Nothing against the Catholic Church or Orthodox or any of it. But underneath what's happening right now is the same forces that do not want this work at all. And so there's a massive revival in those that don't quite understand it and don't carry it. So they told me that I was programmed. I was. Oh, it was hard. They said, as heightened and spiritual as you are, and as you've been bringing it and doing the mission that you've come that's connected to all of them the whole time, you just have to peel it off and see the truth. And that required going through it. It required a fear that was in me that was so great. The fear of not death no longer even feared me. The fear was over losing something much, much, much greater. These forces are evil. And they don't even threaten you with your life anymore because your life, you can get that back. But it is a shame and a how dare you? Like, how dare you? And it keeps showing, this was elevated. This was the teaching. And so I'm being intense, but this was the path of really understanding the solar feminine, which is the activated woman. It's the Eve. And there's a lot of conspiracies on the planet, a lot of people speaking things that I'm not interested in ever using any names ever, because everything that everyone's doing is coming from wherever they are right now and what they really believe. And so trust me, as someone who's been humbled and brutalized so many times, you don't go there. You normally are out to be like, oh, it's not about that. But what has happened is that, and there's a very engineered thing happening too, where a lot of things that are put out about the genuine spirituality are just wrong. They're conspiracies. A lot of them have come from deep within the church, deep within the Reformation. These targeted propaganda campaigns go all the way back, where they're trying to take down, whether it's the arcana or this. I could go on and on and on. There have been dark magicians, absolutely. But I can tell you with every fiber of my being, because I'm in it, what is what. And the archetypal codes of the universe are profound. And that's what this system holds. So the archetypal codes activate the solar feminine now. Do you want to say anything? I have a little more to say about the solar feminine.
Oh, please continue. Please continue.
I know, because I can't wait till we get to love, because we've got some big guns with love. Okay. So, all right. It says the male spiritual teachers did not want to deal with woman's emotions, heart, or the real truth that Eve is the way to Eden. They could not be bothered with commitment, their own sins against the feminine. Now, I want to be really clear, the feminine, the dark side of Lilith, the vengeance, that is on the planet bigger than it ever has been, but we're looking at the male teachers. There was, to be born in a male body, which is what I was shown and taught, carries a certain limitation, even as a spiritual teacher. Yes, you can transcend it, but there's a certain encodement that just doesn't want to know the heart of Eve and what it carries. And there's almost like a competition or I'll have to give up, even if it's a tiny bit of my ego as a man, to have that. I would have to lay that down to know these truths, and I'm not interested. I will keep the adoration of my female women around me because that is a high, high, high prize. And it's very hard for someone in a male body to go beyond that. Very hard. Some of the men that there are master teachers on this planet right now, I give full credit to who I know, some I know personally and have worked with and are doing great, great, great service in the world. But still, that piece is alive. And there are some that have gone beyond it by just denying it altogether, meaning some great male spiritual teachers that have said, I'm going to give up lust or merging with a woman to go to the higher place. And they've done that, but they will still have a time where they have to integrate the feminine. That's not the end of the spiritual path. Like a Thich Nhat Hanh or someone like that. I don't even know if I said his name right, but really holy monks. I want to honor that carry this work. And some of the East sages, but they don't carry the feminine mysteries. They carry the feminine, though. The Christ force is the feminine because it's the mysteries of the heart, and they have it in ways that the schools would say it was because they transmuted lust, but transmuting lust is different than going through the alchemy of the heart. It's a different thing. You can transmute lust. A priest can transmute lust. But transmuting the heart is another universe. And that's what we do here, the heart, because that's Eve's power. This divine feminine tree of life with 13 came through the heart alchemy. Okay, so her Eve's heart is the whole solar feminine that is the ship that sails souls into the next world. She is the mothership, and it is through her awakened vessel that we travel into the new Eden. Nobody goes without going through Eve, period. She is the gatekeeper. So my specific path as we got into required huge deprogramming. I wrote this from the male teachers and spiritual lineages. And again, I'm here to, I use work that I've worked with, in the male path every day. It's a very, very important, especially working with the logos and the word. We need the masculine power, but we need the masculine teachers to support the feminine teachers and to acknowledge that the feminine have a piece that they do not. That will have to be known. They do not hold it. Yes, we're all masculine and feminine in for whatever reason. Venus is just busting through me right now. So I apologize if it's, I do have a light side just to let your viewers know. Okay. So the male teachers had still attached to the male ego in a male body. Now this I was given I have a soulmate that was a teacher at another time on this planet. And she's a she, and we still work together. She's in the soul group. And so this information comes through her. The male body is complicated to be born in a male body. And I know I was told about my own son that when he was coming in, because he came through the ritual, that he was like, I wish I didn't have to do this one again because he knew he was going to have to carry some of the genetic lineage, even though he holds master energy. And it was kind of like, oh God, a male body again. Not that the male body is bad, but just meaning that there is a slight limitation where you have to, it's a contract to carry it. So the grail, okay. They thought so the male teachers thought that the actual grail, the spiritual knowledge was the grail, meaning like the reason people get so lusty around wisdom, and they claim that wisdom is the written word and the written understanding, which it is, of the archetypes and the planets and all the things that, we work with in Divine Feminine Wisdom School and Goddess Kabbalah. We work with all of that. It's based on that. But the grail is the energetic code that holds the key to move beyond the abyss. We must know that woman is they must know the woman as the true virgin to activate the mothership, and they must go through that. It's a sacrifice. Love is a sacrifice. It's the number one thing that you have to understand when you enter into love. Yes, love is beautiful, and there's lots of things on the planet that want to make love relationships healthier and more empowered and to escape pain. A lot of people try to use the dark feminine to be like, oh, I'll get you, I'll outsmart you, and all. That's a very big with the millennials and has been for a long time. But there is no way around sacrifice. When you love, you have to pay. Just like the dark requires a very big price. When we dance with the dark and when we go the way of the dark, we may be rewarded. It may look like we have fame, love, all of it. The price will be owed at a certain point. We say karma is a dish best served cold. So it comes at a time when you're not expecting it, and bam, everything is taken. So love, the higher sacrifice, the feminine crucifixion, is to transmute and move through all the complications and challenges of love. That doesn't mean you'll be with someone forever if it's not right. But 90% of people leave something that was right and that was divine and that was meant to go to build this container. I have that coming too. Okay, I'm going to go through this quick. Do you want to say anything? I'm
Oh
sorry.
my gosh, so good. No, I love all of what you're sharing. We can totally get into, you can start to weave in love, sex, and all of
Okay.
that now, but you already are. So,
Okay, I will continue with this. First of all, it's so great to be here because the goddess has landed in this communication with you, which is always a good sign. Yay, Leigh-Anne
so
creates it.
good.
Okay, Leigh-Anne's amazing. I know this woman. She's amazing. Yeah,
Thank you
to
so
be
much.
be with her as much as you can. Okay. A man, okay. Oh, and then it says a man thinks if he is wealthy, charming, good looking, he holds the key to woman's heart. He then squanders his spiritual energy, or very important, gives it to the wrong doctrine. So now I'm using man right now because I'm using the male force as so so we need wealth. I want to be really clear. It's important to build. We'll talk about how you build when you're in a relationship in the balanced way. All couples that are really together can work towards building a home or towards building the generational wealth, even of their children. That is not off the table. But this is more of a like, I made it in the podcast world. I'm making millions of dollars a year. I've got millions of followers. I'm glammed up. Everybody likes me. I'm only eating meat. No, I'm just kidding. But meaning, like, there's always that scent around that
Mhm.
world, even though that world also, like, I hadn't watched a podcast in a while, but I watched Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan. I just was like, oh, I wonder what Bernie's up to. And I just to drop that name, and I was like, oh, I love this conversation, and I'm seeing the light shine through. And I'm not even putting him down or putting Bernie up, even though I do love him. These conversations have to happen and they're very, very important. But the sort of more ego, glitzy, glammy, sexual, unhealed sexuality side of that, sometimes it's booming in the field and you can feel it. It's just there. It's like that racy, like, yeah, we got this. We're cool. A lot of them, when I look at the aura, have deep, deep, deep secrets and just
Mm.
haven't come, and that's okay, but they haven't. So okay, so when a man squanders his spiritual power and his gifts, it's a big deal. A woman too. So meaning if you came in with a real gift and you choose the route that's a little easier and the current is taking you and you're on river rafting and going really fast and you're like, woohoo, this is great. You may miss the opportunities that are right there that are saying, look, I'm here. We have substance and depth and there's work to be done, meaning like when the partner's there and they let it go for like more pleasure, more money, more fame, to just keep riding that wave. That's called squandering because the universe will bring you opportunities. There are key moments in our life where it's right there, and we all miss a few of them. That's normal. But that when we heighten our spiritual abilities, we learn to recognize, and when we understand the archetypes and what's there, we learn to recognize the opportunity to work with another human through commitment and emotional commitment. Because we know, and emotional commitment is where the alchemy happens. Meaning, when you're in it with someone and you're committed to them, not just physically, you provide the income or the babies, the whatever, or the fame or the status, but you're giving them the emotional support and working through those things through the power of the word, then you're building the temple together. That's the only way that you build this temple. The only way. That's why these mysteries, I will say that and own it with all my heart because I know it now. And I represent that. I carry that. You have to, and it doesn't mean that people are single in this lifetime. They're still doing the work because a lot of times people will have a lifetime of being single because they're still processing what happened before, meaning they're integrating, meaning let's say someone didn't have a lot of power in love, so they may have a lifetime where they're on their own and they've got to really put themselves into the world, own it, and have a different kind. That's different. I'm talking about when the grass is always greener, there's always someone younger, always someone better, someone more fruitful, someone who can, I'm talking about passing on it because you just don't want to roll up your sleeves. So that's squandering the energy. We don't get that. Once it stops coming, it may look like the fame is building. You do not take that fame with you. It's nothing. It's empty. It's sand through the hands. It is an illusion. All of it, even we've been talking about spiritual fame in the conspiracy truther world. Yeah. When you go too into that world and people, the clickbait and the algorithms, and obviously that's the game that we play in this world. It's part of it. But when you might be riding a wave up and think that this is it, but if it's not attached to the actual work and the real life initiation and the heart understanding, not the head, and if you're misseeing people and extracting information in a way that's not correct and claiming that you take spiritual hits from the hierarchies. They cannot work with that. The lower ones can, and the mid-range can give you a little bit because everyone's helping. But you'll take the lesson with you, but that is not contribute. At this point, now everything's contributing, but now what you and I are interested in is the real work. The temple is built with this work, the new temple of Jerusalem. That is this work. And it requires some humility and some truth. So, okay, giving into the wrong doctrine, meaning like I hesitate to ever criticize religion. I know you have an aversity to it just from your upbringing or whatever. And that's fine. I work with people all the time that are like, oh, no. But I have a certain respect for some of the codes that they've held in these times when things got really weird on the left and the left started losing its grounding, where it was supposed to be more about helping people and genuine work with healing, racial injustice and sexual equality and LGBTQ type of stuff. That's genuinely meant to be held there, but the left lost track of itself. It got too informed by greed in Hollywood and lust too. So it's doing some work. And at that time, the more patriarchal religions kind of stepped in and were like, whoa, let's take a step back and look at marriage, conception, children. And a lot of people want that reset, but we don't stop there. There's more to come. So that when I say wrong doctrine, I mean fully making the mistake of giving yourself to the wrong doctrine again. If this was the lifetime you were meant to like understand it. Now, the art of the feminine work here, we are merging to regenerate the teachings of that, meaning there is an energetic communication happening in the higher plane between the church and this work here. And I don't just mean the church, but does that make sense? Meaning like, because there is work there that's really valid, and power and money and wealth. And it's meant to be more, I can't even put it into words yet, because I also had a karma to just deliver energetically the feminine on the karmic platter, and see what they do with it. And that's happening on the higher planes right now. I'm working back and forth with some people. So if you go, the church, etc., has completely misunderstood the higher wisdom of the Christ and knows not the Christ Sophia. So none of them yet understand what that is. So they're on that path. And her gates of holy feminine wisdom. So, and then Goddess Kabbalah holds the energetic codes of the 13 spheres. It's a great work of art. I called it the magnum opus, and I know you recognize that, meaning it has taken year by year, moment by moment, decade by decade, initiation by initiation, studying to get to have it come in the way it has. And it really is the magnum opus. So Eve's body of love. These are the codes of Eve's body. We have the Adam Kadmon and the Adam's body. Oh, now we're building out Eve's body. That's what this work is, because Eve and Adam cannot unite until Eve has been restored, revived, and regenerated. And women carry on this planet such a dark vengeance of Lilith and even lust because of the pain. So, as you know, in psychology, when someone is abused or suffers over and over, sometimes they become the energy of the abuser, or they perpetuate it. Someone who has been received it may get it. And with the feminine carries the dark side of vengeance, meaning when she carries rage, she carries the fallen Mars force in its deepest. So we say fallen Mars, we mean like the patriarchy, the war machine, the military industrial complex, the whole sort of systems that keep the sexual current locked on the egoic lust level. But the deeper fallen Mars is Eve falling into vengeance and rejection of her own power, meaning she's so mad. Because as a woman, if you've ever felt that feeling of deep, deep anger, because with woman has the womb and the heart. And so when a woman gets angry and she goes dark, like meaning she goes rogue she can do some damage. And that is part of the reason why women were feared, because it's true. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And that, all of you today, is the truth. That is the truth, because especially a spiritual woman. And so that leads me to tell you that that's one of the reasons my path was hard going back lifetimes, because when a spiritual woman falls, and she does fall, she has to fall, like meaning she builds it up, and then something gets her. Something gets her. I was shown a lifetime where I had to fall again when I was operating at a very high level. It was in the West. It was in the West. It was in France. And where the rage of seeing something done to a child sent me back in. It's like in the superhero movies, when the superhero falls, when they go dark because of what's happened. It's like, ah. So the feminine is walking this line of healing rage, healing vengeance, which the lighter levels becomes lust, seduction, women betraying each other, taking from each other, not honoring each other. You and I have talked deeply about that. There's women in the world that operate in the shadows in how they approach other women and other women's work. They're seen, but this is not allowed. We have to really come clean. This is all for spiritual women, meaning we have to learn the codes of the feminine masters, and it takes time. So we don't judge ourselves. We have to fall many times. But the woman who falls carries the ability to destroy the planet. It's like I talk about Game of Thrones. You know how Khaleesi at the end, did you ever see the very end where she goes the wrong direction and she burns, she flashes fire of the dragons? That is the archetype of the woman. Like Khaleesi had this like noble aura for parts of it where she could have been, but it was just hell unleashed. And I can't remember the full story, but it's like that. So in order for us to do this, we have to heal Lilith with each other, and we have to go slow, because there's also a lot of discerning required, because with women to women, sometimes there are dangers, and sometimes there are things that you have to protect yourself and put up the wall, or like do things that might feel to the counter, meaning not all love and light. Do you know what I'm saying? Meaning not, because it isn't all love and light. And sometimes that's why my teachers that I was working with had to go, I could not get past the love and light. I was like, no, but we love everyone in this. They were like, Shannon, in some things I did not heed the warning, and everything that they said would happen came to pass. I had to lose everything again. Meaning, so it is just, it's walking a tightrope. So this is the feminine mysteries, because it's not just meditating, fasting. It is so much deeper and more sophisticated. It requires sometimes getting into things that we don't want to be in, and then working our way out and slowly building. Okay, I'm almost done with this one. So so this is Eve's body of love. These are the Venus mysteries incarnated. I'm just talking kind of about my work. They have been brought in over 3 decades. Art of the Feminine Goddess Kabbalah, Divine Feminine Kabbalah, is a blueprint that walks through each stage. And of the Sophia, Mary, Eve, and also the Eastern. We also work with the Eastern goddesses too. But these teachings are the Hail Mary, meaning, that the teaching, the Rosary and the Hail Mary was given, and we did Hail Mary in Holy Descent of Inan. We have our own Hail Mary, which is so deep, but that is about the temple of Isis, and that's where this work comes from, the great temple of the great cosmic mother. I told a story in my last video on YouTube, or the last few, just about how when I was taken at a time into that temple. Later on, that did not come early, because that's a massive thing. That I'll share with this really quick. So it was in the Akashic record, and it was I didn't quite know what was happening, but your heart is scanned. It's like the goddess Ma'at, how they say they weigh it with a feather, meaning like what's really in your heart. So with the divine feminine, her temples, the temples of Isis, every gate you are scanned, and these are really the 13 spheres of Eve's tree, for your heart frequency and your level of purity. If you pass the wall, it opens, and you're in that level of the Akashic field. You cannot fool the mother. You can't fool her. Like, there is the thing about that is the Christ comes in to save the sinners. And so the Christ will carry all of us. And that's great. We're meant to. That's why the Christ mysteries are definitely where we start. You know what I mean? Forgive everyone, love everyone. We're all divine. Definitely. But as we advance and we're able to carry the true cosmic work, accountability, responsibility, and true frequency is all that matters, because you cannot get access to the real wisdom unless you pass it. I hope this is helpful. I just thought I would throw this in at the end, because it's real, and we build this up in love, like through loving another human being, through getting over our selfishness, through learning boundaries and power. We start to balance what we call the astral plane, and I'm going to finish on this, and then I have more when we get into it. And we open the astral plane, which then is the precursor to opening the higher levels. So we're here to reclaim the feminine codes, heal Lilith, Eve, and that's it. I'm going to stop right now. I'm so long-winded today.
Oh my gosh, Shannon, when you talked about the scanning of the heart, I just had something really moved through my throat. And I had to press mute for myself because, yeah, there was something really powerful about that. Thank you for sharing.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw it happen. I was like, oh, I felt it. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I mean, there's so much that we could go into, but I think I want to sh just get into the interplay between men and women, and how are men a part of this healing of the vengeance, right? Or do we have to do it on our own?
Yes. Oh, wonderful question. Okay, I'm going to slow down and not be as long-winded now, because now I want to really tune in. And I like hearing your voice as well, because your holds so much beauty and grace and power. All right. What role do the men play? Okay. Okay. So, as with my own son holds master energy, but I've been working with him. He still had to carry some of the sins of the father when he came in. When you come in a male body and you're carrying, we all bodies, and I know his planets and all of it. Like, as a human, the couple things he'll have to look at. As women, we start by teaching our sons. We don't overpower them, and we're not like strict, and we don't dogmatize them and we don't discourage them from learning and going out and experiencing. But with our own frequency as women, we begin to mirror to them what this energy is, what a woman of power looks like, how she speaks, her pain, her feelings that she suffered. It's important that they understand, even through their mother, that she isn't just all power, but that there's been situations which were definitely spiritually not okay and not aligned. It's okay for a young man to process that and understand it, not to guilt him because he's carrying that in his own being, but to really, really begin to love a woman. And that starts with his own mother when that's right. The first love a man has is the woman whose body he came out of. And so this is hard work. And I hit a couple bumps with my son, and that was one relationship that the cosmic It was sent in by the cosmic, so they immediately, I didn't have to suffer in that area. I had all the support I needed. The second there was a bump with him, because our relationship is totally pristine because it came through that way. Doesn't mean there's not human things, but we're never meant to, flounder around and not know our direction. We get it. We get right to it. So the man starts by understanding the home, but then when men have testosterone, which is part of the Mars energy. With women, we have that too, but the testosterone carries the fallen Mars force. And if you've ever learned about testosterone or what happens when, there was a long time ago on NPR, I listened to a special of women who had to take testosterone and what happened to them. And believe it or not, an endocrinologist once gave it me some for some reason, thought something was going on. Whoa. It was like, no, that was a no. And also when you're pregnant with a boy, you get hits of it too when they're developing in your womb. And so you feel the sexual energy, it comes in. So men carry testosterone and they're meant to. We have to be careful in this modern day. I know sort of the truth or sort of the whole thing. There was this like hypermasculine, nothing wrong. I have no criticism of that at all. It was a reclaiming of strength and power, but starting with the outer and with health and all of that. I'm not coming at this through religion. Religion can be fine. And the structure of having religion, a lot of people are turning to it because it gives them a guideline and a boundary and a template. Like I know someone right now who I know very well who's choosing that path because doesn't want to deal with the men that aren't connected to something like that anymore. Because when you go into that, at least you're getting a guy that's adhering to a standard of how he treats women. Mm-hmm. Now, it is a standard that blocks out some of the higher teachings. So there's a little compromise there, but that's okay. Let's get it right. Let's correct it. So, meaning the woman has to be a little bit more submissive, or maybe in some cases a lot, even if it's not, it's energetic. Even if it's not, doesn't look like it, there is a certain thing happening. And I see it all the time. So especially with the women podcasters that are from the religious world, I hate to say it, but like, I'm like, oh, wow. Who talk with all this authority and power, but deep down, it's not the sovereign divine feminine. It's just not there yet, the real one. So men can start by honoring desire and knowing it's not a bad thing, honoring the sexual force and knowing it's not a bad thing, understanding whatever archetypes, understanding. So we work, as you know, with archetypes, with the zodiac and with the higher archetypes, the Kabbalistic. When you understand your nature, you will understand you may have come in with a lot of Mars. Mercury is a player. It's fast. It's quick. It's quicksilver. It's like women, booze, gambling. Mars is like hardcore fire. Let's get to it. So you can start by the zodiac, looking what you have. Scorpio, Mars, and Pluto. So when a man begins to understand what his makeup is, energetic and spiritually, he can have a relationship with his sexual force. Some men are way more sexual and need and their desire force is on all the time. They can't stop. And that leads them towards addiction and abuse and exploitation of women or even other men, because that world, the world of men on men is also, there are parts of it that are completely consumed with that, just the lust part of it. And I know that because I've worked with some of these men, and it's, the physical is hyper almost pronounced in that world because there's such a desire for youth and beauty and muscles and all of that, but it's in every culture. So, or every sexual orientation. So when the man knows who he is, be like, okay, I came in with this. There's always karma attached to it. So you don't want to suppress it. You don't want to deny yourself. If you're a man that has a strong desire force and you hunt women, acknowledge that, because some men do. Some men just aren't interested in that and they look for the one, or they're more like, they might not have that bold ego or security. So find out your nature, start to honor it and become okay with it so that you're not condemning yourself, but then understand what is exchanged when you go with a woman, when you dabble with her heart, when you call forth her adoration and her love. We call that being unconsciously amorous, meaning when you dangle the prospect to a woman of love, commitment, maybe even marriage and children, her heart comes online. Mm-hmm. And so many men, and I know this well, have learned how to use that to get validation. And so they've learned to be, especially men with a lot of Venus, will dangle, will flirt unconsciously, amorously to call forth the power of the female heart, because you can get addicted to the adoration of the woman. That's what a rock star is. So that the energy that goes towards rock stars, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's the adoration of the feminine. There is no high in the world like that. And in fact, male spiritual teachers need the adoration of the feminine to lift up. They cannot lift up without that. They have to have the young virgins and the women around them, and the women who there's women send them energy. So when a man understands what he's calling forth, he can take responsibility for it. And like, I have these talks with my own son, like even when he was a teenager, because I heard in psychology, like certain things to look for if a child has bonded properly with his mother, or how he feels about marriage, or how he feels about children. And there's all the signs of like what kind of trauma they've gone through. So it was kind of just looking into my own son and asking him some little questions. And I was like, oh, thank God. He feels pretty well adjusted with the feminine, and at peace with whatever wounds we did have as the mother to son wound, but that he has a pretty healthy view and respect of woman, and wants the woman to have wisdom and power herself. So men can start to see, what am I looking for? And this is a big thing with men, not quite as big with women. Because as a woman gets older, she doesn't tend to go for the options of younger men as much. She can. There's a lot of celebrities now, like women who are 70 or like dating 30 or, it's just kind of for show though. It's an archetype. But the woman kind of ages out of that kind of thing at a certain point. Do you know what I mean? Where she's looking for substance, not just someone to be in bed with her, like a young. So, but men, it's a different thing with men, that as men get older, oftentimes they feel more empowered and to go with younger women. I have to say this, it's not a fun thing to talk about. It's not sexy. But on the planet, in this work, I have been shown, I knew this when I was a young girl, that if a man chooses not to go through the alchemy with a woman, and he keeps letting go for younger and younger, he is squandering his force. It does not mean that there may be a situation where the universe sends that, but on the global archetype, what we see, even in the podcast world, or even in, the celebrity world especially, it's that man cannot lose. He doesn't age out. No matter what happens, he gets rewarded in this world. You understand? Mm-hmm. Physically, I'm being intense, but I feel like your audience is ready for it. He gets rewarded. There's nothing to worry about. There's no, even if I failed or this or that, I can. So the subconscious programming now, which is being beamed, has been that for a long time. And especially when marriage, getting divorced became to be less, that was kind of held intact to sort of like by the masters to try to keep people in marriages, just so they would start the process of that alchemy where there's love and sex. So there had to be like the contract with the church and all this, no divorce. That was to kind of get the planet to the next level, because otherwise women were breeders, and there was like many women. Some were the wives, some were the mistresses, some were we had to come, the religion really in the West really did bring us to that place. But men should think about this, and it's better if they think about it when they're younger, so that they understand where they put their commitment. And again, I'm talking about if it's meant to be. Sometimes something blows up, it's not the right situation. But 90% of the time, the universe will send you the right situation in the beginning, and it's squandered, and the woman takes the hit. Energetically, it's shown. The men will be hit karmically, but the woman's heart, and you know this too, that vengeance, that rage, that pain that is betrayed, it keeps it alive on the planet. You understand? When woman is perpetually in the state of being left, she's like considered, she's getting older, there's someone else. There is an unconscious pain that women don't even anymore want to relate to, because it's like, now it's just like, oh, that's okay. I'm good with that. Let him go do this. But deep down, there's a deep fear. That is what Lilith is. Lilith knows this pain, and that until we and then women have all these things they carry that have helped to perpetuate this in relationships where they they destabilize so easy because the emotional body is so wrecked. Do you know what I mean? The collective female emotional body is it's fear. Fear and lust and desire are all the same frequency. I'll say that again. Fear, lust, and desire, the same frequency. Now, desire can go up or it can go down. It can ride the spectrum. It can become the desire of God, and then it can become the balanced desire in the astral plane. But fear and lust are the same thing. When we have deep lust, it's fear. It's the other side of the coin of fear, meaning because it's run by the lower forces. And we always say we need a little lust, a little bit of like, ooh, I'm into that. That's a little bit of it gets the flame started. But if you live in lust frequency, and especially if there's no commitment and it's constant, like the porn culture, it's a fear. It's perpetuating Lilith and Eve's fear, and it's destroying the planet physically. It destroys the planet. So this whole porn culture that kids are being raised on now, by the way, that's why these times are profound, because so I wrote down reclaiming the dark side, raising the earth to attach to Eve's body of light. That's what the process of divine feminine Kabbalah or the holy descent is. That that is the solar feminine, Leigh-Anne, the risen earth that activates Venus. And there's no way to do it but this work. This is it. This is what I'm given. I mean, I'm come from this lineage, lifetime after life. This is part of the group that I'm with, that we've come to do this. And this is why we've been killed so many times. Nobody wants to face this one. No. And, I will add the last thing because I just did. And I'm actually going to put this on my Substack. I know you're encouraging me to do Substack. Yeah. I'm going to do it because I know you've got it down. I'm going to do the techno feminine thing. I have tons of writing on it. I'm going to put that as my first. I don't have any articles up yet, but I want to move in to that space with you because I know you're rocking it and I know that that's a good thing. So, okay. So the technology world, this is the danger of tech right here. As we're seeing happen, technology is here to remove aging. And so what that means, and this will happen very shortly, meaning like where there's no longer any aging. So what will grow with that is absolute lust frequency, meaning we may become bored with it after a while when everyone is completely beautiful and youthful and there's no more variation. There's a huge level of depression that comes with that. Do you know what I mean? If it's not spiritual, the spiritual beauty that's radiant, like the angelics that are always useful, that's different. That's the choirs of the music of the heart. But in the technology world, what we have, because all of a sudden AI is coming into porn now too. I don't know if you know about this. Oh, and the fetish world is going crazy with it. It's so bad, Leigh-Anne, because you can put on a costume and be whatever you want with AI. The places that we are going to go, it's the darkest of the dark. So this is my point. When we're no longer going through maid, mother, crone, meaning like when you start youthful with someone, you get older, you have the children, you break. It doesn't mean you shouldn't keep yourself nice. I'm all about that. Like if you're a Venus-y person and you want to look youthful, Botox, whatever. I mean, like if somebody wants to do, fine. I'm not talking about condemning trying to look as best you can, but the danger that's coming is that we won't. That the aging with someone was teaching us to see beyond the flesh.
Yeah.
And with this, we will no longer have to see beyond the flesh. I know I saw you look at the clock. I know I want to get whatever and you want to. You know what I mean? We won't have to look at the flesh. We won't have to deal with activating matter through the soul and spirit. That will be taken away. And if the fertility is taken, those mysteries are gone. And the male side thought that they could take fertility away and make it just all technological, with all the splicing and all the tech and all that. I forget, I can't even think of what it's now. All the technology we have with genetics and all that. That's going to it's removing the feminine mysteries. And so we're going to go into a dystopian time that also has the potential for good, but we're in murky waters right now. We're in the part where we're crossing over right now. But does that make sense to you?
100%. Yes. I
Okay.
think that because this is, it's almost like we have to really even go even more rock bottom with materialism and the physical and the flesh and all of that for, I mean, not you and I, but people collectively do. And don't worry about the time. I'm good until
Oh, okay.
5. So, but yeah, that I feel like for men, like pornography is like the gauntlet being thrown in the ring right now for them. And I don't think women are going to be the ones to, I think they're going to be the ones who have to fight that battle.
And by the way, I just want to say for Leigh-Anne, I've heard some of your work on that outstanding. Like I can't remember. I saw like an Instagram live or something that you did that I was like, whoa, you're really speaking truth. Like you get it. Leigh-Anne gets it on the cellular level. So I love that you've done that work in that area. So yes, yes, the porn is being thrown by part. It's a pacifier. It's part of the propaganda to pacify because it's like throw them a bone, throw them a treat, throw them. It's to keep it dumbs us down spiritually. It
Right.
removes the spiritual. You can't have both in the same space.
Right.
You cannot have addiction to porn or this and be operating on you just
Mm-mm.
you can't have it. So you have to choose at some point. And it's the same with love. If you don't choose to go through the feminine mysteries and understand what's in Eve's heart, you will not know, not until you find out.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I mean, it is causing all of these addictions. And like my heart goes out to men because it's so like they know, right? How all of the dark psychology and all they know how to manipulate and hijack men like this. And it's really um it's siphoning all of their life force energy.
Their life force, it squanders it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad. There's a sadness because you can't really have a, okay, this is one last thing. You can't be in a true intimate relationship when you have that. Like Eve can't give her intimacy and then she can't give who she is. Do you know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about a little porn in your life or whatever. I mean, ultimately, eventually, you don't need it. But I mean, there's all kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah.
I love this so much. I think, you know, your work around the new sexual, how do you even say it? The new human sexual paradigm.
Yeah.
What does that mean for people?
So the new human sexual paradigm, I think I wrote something down on it. Okay. Authentic. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So in the new human sexual paradigm, I think I lost that page, but that's fine. I can talk about it. It's when the consciousness, this is the solar feminine, is raised into love. Meaning when it only people are starting and there and please don't get me wrong, we all have parents, grandparents, relatives who have actually gone through this. They may not be aware and they're not operating in the level of the mysteries, but meaning they've gone through a committed relationship, genuine love, built a life together, loved their children, honored the planet. We have that on the in the world. So this isn't to be all negative, and that's the starting place. The new human sexual paradigm, and I'm not even when I say it talking about tantric practices in sex, those do exist. And we remember we're interfacing desire and spirituality. So the desire and the complete abandonment in love with someone you love is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, it's a communication. The flows through that. But I'll give an example. So, and I also teach Light Body Tantra and I have those courses and I can't remember what you've seen in that yet. So, blessing sexuality, we call it blessing the banquet table. All the women I've ever worked with, I've taught, before you enter into the union or you're going to play and have fun, we do Christ Sophia in the seven directions and we call in the Christ to be like, allow me to run these currents, but with protection. No dark forces allowed. No archons allowed. No dark angels, fallen angels allowed. Meaning like guide this. It doesn't mean that you might not go to places where in that state you're guided. And it doesn't mean that that takes away all the darker aspect of exploring with someone because the Scorpio mysteries will sometimes have you go into a place so you can learn from it and know what it is. There's deep learning, but make sacred your sexuality. That's the new human sexual paradigm.
Mhm.
Understand the woman's heart and the male heart and what happens in love. Understand what happens when you betray a love. Like sometimes, again, to say we have to leave someone or this and it hurts and we're not meant to carry the weight of that, but we have to okay, put it this way. When we pass over, our accountability on the feminine level is in how we use love. Like that's the feminine. You can say, did I feed the hungry, do the poor? We do all that. We feed the hungry, we heal the sick, we do all of that. And that is the work of the Christ. The feminine Christ, what we're bringing in, is the work of love. How? That's the goddess Ma'at and the feather. When I talk about those energetically frequencies that open the gates, how have you used love? Because love and divine love, like you asked, is the current that created the whole cosmos.
Mm.
So for you to even be given a master level of working with that on the feminine level, you have to know what love is. You have to understand the laws of nature. You have to understand balance. You have to understand when you put something out there, what you're inviting in. You have to understand human love to know. And we get life reviews where we see all of that. People are going through that big time right now. When you pass over, they show you everything, how you use love. And the men will have to actually experience. Men don't quite understand the feminine pain. Like they carry it. And when you know a guy's about to awaken, you see a man who gets just slammed and crucified in love, you know that that man's ready for spirituality. Because usually the men can kind of sail through it. They feel it, they feel it. But when a man's having a lifetime where some woman annihilated him and he's broken and has to crawl out, he's beginning to enter the feminine mysteries. Does that make sense? He's getting a little taste, but in a male body, they do not understand what women care, what women experience. So because when a woman experiences loss, betrayal, or even the suffering of her own child, it's a force of the universe because it's the force that creates new life. And so, in the new human sexual paradigm, we're getting initiated to be able to carry that current. And in order to do that, we have to understand love. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So we meet with our masters, and then what happens is that if a man has hurt a woman, he gets to live as that woman and experience what he put on her, how he left her, what he did, because then he has to live as her and know what it was. And sometimes I've been told, this sounds dramatic, but live 10 times as that,
Wow.
meaning because it is to be true. Okay, so this is what I want to finish on this. To betray Eve is a sin against the Holy Spirit. In the Bible, which is also the sexual force, it says the only sin that is not forgivable. I think there's some verse, I don't know, don't quote, I'm not a Bible verse person, but the only great sin that can't be forgiven is a sin against the Holy Spirit. What that means is that it has to be resurrected. You don't just clear that and say, "Oh, I'm done. I found God." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You cannot. The resurrecting of the heart of the woman, which has been used in such a selfish, exploitative way, squandered, and she herself has squandered it, to be really clear. We have to know that to pass go. We have to know that to pass Pluto. We have to know that to swim through the abyss and make it to the other side. No other way. And so those lifetimes are not punishment, they're teaching.
Mhm.
Because when you live it as a woman and a spiritual woman, you think long and hard about all of it. Like, and I got to live do you know what I mean? You reflect on what just happened to me. What is this pain and how is it global? How is it being passed on to my children and future generations? So,
Right. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, so why don't we shift into like what is the highest potential of love relationships right now?
okay. Oh, I love that. All right. Okay. The highest, there's a lot of programming and there's a lot of like even like the millennial generation that has Pluto and Scorpio and has had to play with a lot of like ideas of how love should be before you enter into it. And so there was a lot of program, and I've worked with a lot of millennial women who were in this world of feminine energy and demanding what's it called, a high quality man and a high ticket, whatever, like the wealth of this, of that, of that. So there's nothing wrong with having, a standard. And woman has to know her work. Okay, what did you just ask me? Oh my God, three streams are coming in at
Oh my
once.
gosh, yeah. What is the highest potential
Got it.
of love relationships?
Got it. Okay. Okay. A woman has to know her feminine energy and she has to know her worth. So that's the work of women. She has to know her spiritual being inside her heart. She has to understand her karma. She has to understand her desire body, which is Lilith, and her body of purity, which is Eve. We call these the lunar feminine or the lunar mysteries, the moon mysteries, to regenerate and reclaim the dark space as the womb, as the generative life force, and to heal that womb to what it's meant to be. Woman has to know that her body, she has to respect it and have value for it. It doesn't mean she's perfect every day, or that she's doesn't ever have depressed days or bad days or bad PMS days. Not that at all, but at the core of her foundation, she has to understand what she exchanges with a man. When she goes with a man, it doesn't mean there won't be some relationships that are just about learning and respecting each other, but exchanging, that can happen too. But to really just understand her, to not squander her for as a woman, you have a limited amount of energy. There's a limited amount of a certain force that comes from Eve. It's the vital energy. And it doesn't mean it's gone for good, but substances, misuse of the sex force, misuse of vengeance, betrayal, those deplete the vital energy. You lose it. Meaning that high vibrating Christ Sophia energy is gone. Conspiracy world strips it. I'm telling you, I don't mean to hit that so hard, but you have to be careful. And there's a lot going on in our world right now. There's definitely things that need a second look. But if you can, be guided by prayer and be careful about getting, because that world, that is the lowest form of Lilith, because that's fear. And it's running things by fear, suspicion, illusions. And so, you know how that's why those world build so quickly and they just proliferate with more and more. Once you start building it, you have to keep adding new things in, taking new people to, it's just, so as a woman, and that's what happened in a lot of the sort of the political movements that the women went into. Women were like losing everything. Do you know what I mean? Because you might get a high. I watched it happen to some people I know. You might get a high of feeling like you know, but you'll lose your spiritual power, your divine feminine power. You can't carry it. You'll get a different kind of power and it might feel strong, but your pristine energy. That's why the work here, we had to pull way, way, way back. I've mentioned this, even though it was hard to make sense of exactly what was happening in the past 10 years, a lot of things in our world and a lot of things that were consensus reality that were like, you have to do that, that needed to be stood up to. So there's both things happening at once. Does that make sense? Yeah. So woman has to know her, okay, this is the highest template in love. So woman, clean herself up, prayer, dedicate to the feminine mysteries. And by the way, we're in the world of fast spirituality where everything like fast fashion, fast food, fast everything. Fast spirituality is on every YouTube channel. It's fast. It's being put out. It has a ring to it and it sounds good and it's true. But if the person on the other side of that doesn't carry the weight of the masters and walk with the true living stream, it's just empty. It's like fast fashion. You just read it and you want more porn. You want more fast porn. You want the next person, the next fetish. That's why people are addicted to like scrolling and looking at spiritual ideas because they don't really integrate any of them. They look at them and they want the next. That's when wisdom becomes the serpent.
Yeah.
There's no foundation or formula. So if you're a woman, I'd say commit to something where you're really working. That's what this work was made for. This is a world where everything is so seductive and you want the next best thing or who's this, that. You have to, in this age, work like you're doing, like do it. Focus. Focus is the male force in the woman. You have to focus. You have to build layer by. This is a real alchemy. This isn't an anything goes spirituality. Just be free. Just be. This is not there. I'm sorry, but in the feminine mysteries, there is a step by step pieces of alchemy. Once you are privy to know that, you can never not see it again. It's real. Building the body of light is it. That's why the Christ Force gave us specific instructions for what we could digest at that time. In the man, become a man the best you can. Don't let this world take you down. Don't fall prey to lust and fame and fortune and money without spirituality. Retreat into your cave and learn to be a man, meaning if that's your goal. What I mean by that, not every man has to be a macho man or a hyper masculine man at all. Some of the most manly men I know don't even stand very big, are not big, but their force is integrated, their integrity, their ability to manifest in the world, the discernment and how they speak, their wisdom is there. And this is the thing about the wisdom. When you integrate the wisdom, it doesn't even matter what you look like now. Do you know what I mean? We crave to be the most beautiful, the most youthful, the most built guy. I'm telling you that when the men have that, it won't even matter what you look like. Women will be like lining up, please pick me. Meaning, because if you're the real deal, that is the most gorgeous thing that even existed. And so, men learn how to be men. And there were some podcasters coming out with that stuff, like take responsibility for yourself, your life, take spiritual responsibility, claim the voice you want to hear, and just commit to it. Don't think you're a spiritual master before you are. Like, we're in this culture of everyone becomes a teacher. And then the high level of relationship is about, this is the highest thing, how you communicate. How you communicate, how you are honest. Because when you both have those tools to work with, how you respect each other, how you listen, how you say you're sorry when you're wrong, how you forgive the other if they, I mean, there's times in real relationships you make a big mistake and you have to be like, whoa, I'm really sorry about that. Like, I did that. And this was what was going on. This is what happened. And it's humbling experience to say that. I've had that happen where I was like, oh, whoa. I mean, because even on the most spiritual level, there's times when the dark comes in and zaps you or something in your karma and you misstep or misspeak in a very profound way and it can destroy the container. There's a saying, it only takes one word to ruin a relationship, meaning the power of the word is the power of the Christ force. Learn how to communicate from the heart. Learn how to listen, forgive, but also be humble enough to apologize and learn how to build together. Like as a couple, when you come together, learn who does what best. It doesn't have to be traditional male female at all. This is the time of creativity. The man may be like providing the home and doing the things, but like really in a manly kind of way. Like I get this, and the woman may be having this creative influx where she's doing it and he's supporting her, and then they keep. But I'm just using that as an example. Work together, use your strengths, know what they are, and do what makes you happy. Like in the relationship, there's rules. The people have to be happy. You're going to sacrifice, meaning at times something's going to happen that's not fun, and you have to ride the wave through it. You don't get to leave. You have to roll up your sleeves, get down and in it. That's the commitment and the sacrifice. But in terms of life, if you love to cook, be the one in the kitchen, be the one in the garden. If you love business and be the one making the money. If you're good with the finances and you know how to invest, but work together, communicate who's good at what and what you want to do so that you feel fulfilled, happy, and find a person that's a good match for you. When you fall in love, this is the last thing to say. So if two people really fall in love with these tools, it's the real deal. Meaning, if you fall in love with someone and you've done, so that's why in like the church, it's a good thing that they put them through this education before they get married, because they really put it on. That's one of the good things they do. You put it on the table, and the marriage rate in that situation is very high success because they talk about what's important in the beginning and then they commit. And there's way less chance that they're going to fall back because they're like, no, we're in this. We unite with God. We have that triangle, masculine, feminine, divine, that we both pray. We both take time to reflect, to forgive, but build together. You have to build. You can't stay stagnant. That's why if couple doesn't have children, they have to build something else. Meaning you life together, you have to we have to keep generating here. We're generators. We're in the goddess world. And so you have to always be building, even if it's your own auric field and perfecting it. You have to have a practice. You have to build. And two people that are fulfilled in their own divine mission are far more likely to not have resentment towards each other. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
When you know your worth, like now I'm at this stage where, oh my God, I just know what I bring. And like, first of all, I know that that's number one because it's number one. It's my contract, but it makes you more attractive and it makes you more vulnerable in the good ways because you're like, I'm willing to be vulnerable for this because I
Yeah.
already know that what I have is of worth. And I'm not going to lose it all just by being open. I'm going to only grow. And so, be in it to win it. Be in it for the long term. Make a commitment. no, see beyond lust, but have fun with each other, meaning know that, okay, we're going to get old together if you make a commitment. Like we're going to do this. And what is going to sustain us through that? Maybe not now with all the technology. We might be at the end of that, but our generation isn't. Or like you're right, you're below me, but our we're gonna border it. Does that make sense? Oh,
Oh, it's so beautiful.
and also, if you bring children in, take it seriously. If you bring a child, this is the work of fertility, of the sacred fertility we teach. You're responsible for that child. If you need in the new world, you understand what's at stake when you bring a soul in. You owe that child the very best you can give them. And you need to step up to that, whether you're a man or a woman. You need to provide for them. You need to make sure, even if it's humble, that they have a bed, that they have food, that they have education, quality, that they have access, that you're teaching them spiritually. I mean, this is for the advanced people. Bringing in a child is in the new world is the most important thing, meaning it will not be taken for granted. You will be karmically responsible for it. Now, I'm not anti I believe in like when it comes to like the womb and all of that, I'm very very conservative about you know removing that process once it's started. At the same time, I believe in a woman's right to choose. And I believe that we're at the stage where that should not be controlled by men. We need to collectively have a conversation about what's moral and what's not, for sure. Meaning, like, if someone's going to terminate a pregnancy, that needs to be understood from the spiritual aspect. But right now, that is not the worst crime on the planet right now, meaning spiritually, there are times when a child's being brought in when it's not meant to come in. Does that make sense? Meaning where it's not coming in through responsibility, accountability, and it won't receive what it needs. We're phasing that out. Karmically, it's allowed, but in the new, I hope I said enough to make that not seem off. The reason my work came for fertility is that having a child is one of the highest initiations you have. I got to experience every single step at the height before everything fell apart. I was given that gift, meaning, and I had to create with the person I created with. Like it was all aligned to the T to bring in the soul that came through my and to teach these mysteries in the coming years. It will be known that kids will be brought in a different way, and that the parent holds a higher level of karma because they've chose to bring them in. And so, meaning until they're at a certain age, they have to devote their life to giving them what they can. And even if that's only good advice or good meditation or whatever. So no more of this, like, we get married, we make kids, we have divorce. We get married to someone else, we make kids, we get divorced. We get married, which you see all the time now with it's just 20 families in one, three. It's not to judge anything of the past, but going forward, we'll understand that the tree of life works through the male and the female principle. And in order for the tree to grow, is receiving a stream from both the egg and the sperm throughout its life. And when we choose to not understand the spiritual aspect, which is what the work in this work is about, we're blocking the process of resurrection to our immortal bodies, because the auric field is, we focus especially on the mother's field to the son or to the daughter. It's everything. It's everything. And that's what this planet does not honor. The communication between a woman's aura and her heart and the child she brings in goes on for the entire life. And so
Wow.
it's a real thing. It's a very real thing.
The theme I think for today and all of your work is really just reverence for the woman, reverence for the man, reverence for the child, reverence for sexuality and love and the heart. So I just wanted to share that. I mean, that's the word that
Yes.
really comes, being in reverence and truly honoring one another, and life,
Can I,
yeah,
and life, can I ask you something,
yes.
Leigh-Anne? Okay. Can you just look, because for this stream came in really strong today, and can you let me know if there's anything that needs to round it out or make it so it brings it together for your work and your audience, meaning that specifically focuses on what they're looking for. Is this helpful? Is there any topic we didn't do that would just like make it so that if they're turned off to this, it doesn't seem like it's just this crazy, like, we've got to be, I'm being strong today, but because for those who are meant to hear, I want you to hear it. I want you to receive it.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the voice of truth that's coming.
I mean, that really truth and love are deep values for me and my work. And so I think everything came through so beautifully. It's such an honor, each and every word that you shared. I think, yeah, we can probably start to wrap up with really any last words that you have to say um, about love and sexuality. I just wanted to share one more thing though before that. I kind of see this is a deep topic. We probably won't have time to get into it, but I do see that there's a little bit of a splitting where there's people who are of a very high level of consciousness, interested in your work, interested in really high level relationships, and they're here for it. And I'm so blessed to have clients who are literally excuse me, they're doing the work. I see them actually doing it,
Yeah.
which gives me so much hope in humanity. But there's a little bit of a splitting because, like you said, there's a lot of the other forces that want to take people in the other direction.
Yes. And yeah, and your work is priceless. There's no, you can't put a price tag on that kind of work, and that you get to witness it and hold that purity and desire to really facilitate it, but from a place of wisdom. There is a split, and we don't know exactly how it will go. I have hope. And my son is in the world now. He's living in New York City, and his generation, I see all the time young people who know what they want, who value relationships, who value family, who have integrity, who see through the inundation of the social media, and they're not living in that frequency. And I've been seeing it a lot lately. And it's like, wow, they made it through. There is a really beautiful stream of humans on this planet right now that they came in with that and ready to hold that template. um, so in terms of, like, I know you and I have talked about just like the entertainment industry and all that goes with it, whether it's Hollywood music and all that. I don't cut off from that because I come from that background of music, entertainment, film, art, theater, all of it. And so I'm careful about shunning all of it or trying to take people down that don't deserve to be taken down. Meaning, you can pull out examples with many people. Some are very extreme and awful. Some are just the archetypes making their way into the field so that we can learn from them. Like, just because someone has like a dragon or someone has like, some archetype on stage, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're programmed by the yada yada and they're performing a ritual and they're taking everyone down at all. Anyone who says that has no clue about the history of theater and what it is. It's the manifestation of working with the archetypes so we can learn from them. So, however, it is at an all-time high where it's hard to turn on anything that's not saturated, especially on like, so I haven't been watching for a while, but they really push it with even in Game of Thrones, like anything like that, they push the I won't say the words, but the very inverted forms of union where it has involves younger people or family, or they just milk it because they want to make everything a fetish. For that crowd that wants to see that, they have to please them. Does that make sense? So entertainment, they do the numbers now, and a lot of it is based only on the numbers. People are watching more and more porn, so they can't just put out something without showing a little of that world, the fetish world. And so that's why the fetish world, whether it's, you can look at even all the, like, I watched Outlander and Rain and many of the series that are the period, that I love them, the period pieces that are about romantic love, but they pack them, even Game of Thrones, with the darker sexuality, and it's graphic, and nowadays they show it. That is not meant to continue like that. On some level, we're meant to see some of it. It's okay to be like, okay, to be desensitized and be like, that's not genuine, that's not real, that's the ugly side of humanity. But when they're using it to lure people in and get people addicted and then to take them down the pipeline, that's the devil. That's Satan. That is evil. And that is happening. And but yet you don't want to shun all of entertainment, because if you do, you go all the way to the other direction, which was the church annihilating, taking down all the feminine. Okay, so this is what I was shown before this podcast. The church has to be careful about wiping out the good aspects of the creativity and the feminine and the sexual force, which is they tend to do in their shadow side. And the left needs to be careful about throwing away any and all boundaries and throwing away any container and integrity around spirituality. The left tends to go that direction, and they go in opposite directions and they meet in the same place. And the right tends to go too pure. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to condemn you. You did this. When you look at the war planet and you look at what the people on the right talk about when it comes to women's rights, and like some 14-year-old having to terminate a pregnancy because she was violated. Look at what they're willing to do on the killing fields on battle, millions of people. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't even line up but that's the trick. They hold up this one thing and say, look at this sinner, look at this woman, look at what she's doing. Meanwhile, we're going to wipe out millions of your children. We're going to wipe out your children in war. So this world is complex, and find the place where you belong. I can't remember what your question was, but there are two streams, and we are in the rising stream. Do the work and you're in the rising stream. You'll be so fulfilled. Like, if you take on, let's say Leigh-Anne comes into the school and she's studying, and there's more and more coming with that too. When you're in something fulfilling where you buckle down and you start to work with something and commit to something, the benefits you receive are something that you cannot even comprehend until you do that. It is another level. It is a totally different vortex when you're committed to a stream and you're learning methodically. That is the real school of life. And those are the people that are going to, that's what we call the mysteries. That's the return of the mysteries for this time. And that's what the feminine mysteries are. And that's what the Divine Feminine Wisdom School is too. And I know you told me, do you want me to say anything about
Oh,
it?
yeah. Let's actually, we'll start to wrap up. And yes, I want to give you some
Okay.
space to talk about the school and any other offerings as well.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up, but you told me at the
Oh, no,
beginning.
please do.
So,
Yes.
okay. I haven't done a podcast in a long time. So we have, okay, I have a school, which I'm going to be launching the next year in this next coming month. It's called Divine Feminine Wisdom School. It's built up of many, many courses that are all of the light body yoga, all of the light body woman mentorships, all of the archetype. My work has been about profound 20 years of work in the major arcana and the esoteric tarot to bring in the feminine aspect of that. So that's a work I'm very proud of, because it's required day and night work for decades. That work is in there, along with Goddess Kabbalah, which is now, to really understand what Kabbalah is, it's the esoteric system of the cosmos, and it brings in the wisdom of everything, working through the Christ force. It's aligned with the true teachings of all religions. It's universal, and this is the universal feminine Kabbalah. So that's all in the school, and all the light body yoga, all the light body tantra, all the work in sexuality. This has been brought in a way that takes it step by step, and it's meant to download you. And I can honestly say that people who go through it or who have been working with me over this time, they're like different people. They speak the language. It's different than learning something on YouTube, watching a few videos. It is another reality. Like, even when Leigh-Anne came to me and was interviewing that she wanted to come in the school, just the way she spoke. And then when we had a session together after you had been in it, everything you said, I was like, oh, you're popping. Like, you're popping. It turns you into who you really are, if that makes sense. Meaning, because you're in what's called the wisdom. That's what Divine Feminine Wisdom School is. I'll be putting out information. You can find all of this at artofthefeminine.com. And then to let you know what you could do now, if you do, that's a big commitment. It's a year of study. But there is a course called Holy Descent. I'm going to stop offering it soon, because I've been putting it out for people who just want to do a much smaller commitment, energetically, money-wise, and time-wise. But you get access to it for 3 months. Something I'm so proud of, called Holy Descent of Inanna. But this is also Goddess Kabbalah level 1. I'm offering that to anyone who wants to sample my work and go in very deep. And we work with the framework of the whole system. A true spiritual system has a real framework, meaning there are parts that put together the puzzle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're very real. It's a real puzzle with different pieces that all have to be put in their place, whether it's the esoteric alphabets or the spheres on the tree or the planetary bodies. This is all very real. So, holy descent gives the framework to seed the consciousness. And for the feminine, it's truly a journey of reclaiming the female power and love through understanding the dark that's happened to woman. Leigh-Anne did it and she really liked it. And I put her testimony on the thing because I really liked it. Maybe you can say something about it in a second. Then I might offer an earlier version of light body yoga, which is super powerful. If you want to start to learn this work, I will just say this: esoteric ritual practices, not just learning, but understanding real things that you do, like any occultist or mystic that is really worth their salt, or what is the saying, isn't just talking about things and reading things. They have very, very real things that you do. And we'll start by, we're talking about just I am in the seven directions is one. Light body yoga brings in those things have been given and they're really profound. So that's the other, and it's 444 right now. So I'll just say that I will give you are you going to post this now or are you going to post it later?
Yes,
With,
I will post it probably by Wednesday. And all of
okay.
your links to your website, to your Instagram, or your
Okay.
Facebook or
I'll
YouTube.
give you links too. I want to post it on mine too.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, there's links. So I would say if you want to sample my work, do either a light body yoga or do Holy Descent of Inanna. It's also called Goddess Kabbalah. Just, I don't want to confuse you. If you want to dive in, this is your work. You want to do this for a living, like you're in it all the way. Come into the school for a year. I've been on a little bit of a break, but we do monthly master classes and monthly mentor Q&As with mentoring. So you get contact with me and other people while you're in it. It goes a year, but I have enough to make it go 2 years. So right now, if you join, you get it all in 1 year. Eventually, I'm getting ready to turn it into 2 years. But so if you want to get in on all of it for the cost of 1 year, come and do it now. That's that. And you can say whatever you want because experienced it.
I mean, I would just say that anything that Shannon touches, I mean, even if people, the Holy Descent that we did last year, I can't even believe it was that long ago, was one of the most profound experiences that I've ever had. I mean, it was just, it was so much deeper than I knew your work already when I came into the program because I had done the mentorship before with you. But that program blew me away. I mean, the words that I shared on your website, that's only just scratching the surface because you can't, it's sort of like it's ineffable. You know, the words can't quite describe it. So I think yes. And of course, anyone can contact me if they want more information, but I just share your work all over the place because it's the real stream. And in this world of all of the social media stuff, which, has a place, as you say, this is, you know that this is the real stream. And so I am so grateful for you, Shannon. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your depth, all of your wisdom. You continue to blow me away just with your whole life devoted to this work, and it's such an inspiration for me. So thank you so much. Do you have anything else to say?
Well, I will just say that you saying those words about holy descent is not like the average person saying that because your level of comprehension and spiritual study and integration is high. So to hear Leigh-Anne speak those words is like mind blowing to me because she's the real deal. And if she had that experience, I'm just honored as can be. That was a profound. So if you come in, you get the pre-recorded videos from that 8-week course and you get them for 90. That was recorded at a profound time in our planet before we entered 2025. So the energy that was there, it's unbelievable. And we were in that vortex. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to Leigh-Anne and give you the compliment back that to hear that from you is not a small thing. So
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Shannon, I know that we could talk for hours and hours, and I'm literally grateful for every single word. And I know this is going to be very, very deeply profound for people. And so, yeah, all of my love to you. We'll talk very soon. And yes, everyone, please go check out Shannon's work. Many, many links in the show notes. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, Leigh-Anne. Huge blessings, and we will meet again soon. Well,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye.